if you're showing me honest effort and you're not bullshitting me about what you're trying to do and you're giving your true effort, I'll give you credit more so than the meathead over there just doing something stupid but is an asshole.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. The one on the waiver that has to do the walk test but can bench press 350
Yeah,
pounds.
dude.
That guy. Yeah.
That guy. When I see those guys and they're just kind of walking around with their gallons of water, like
Always.
I get it.
Yeah.
And it's
you win, right?
Yes,
You win.
You're win. You win all the weights. This is fine. I'll go over here and do something else. You're tuned in to the Breaking Red podcast, the show for rising military leaders who want to trailblaze the future. We tackle the profession of arms with creative solutions to dynamic issues. This isn't your typical leadership course, so be ready to step up your game and define the future. I am your host, Gabriel Gabe Rockavilla. Let's go. Welcome back, everybody, to the Breaking Red podcast. Gabe Rock on the mic, and I'm very excited because I'm not alone on the mic today. This episode is with a fellow leader and someone that I truly admire and look up to, because some of the stuff that he focuses on is what has influenced me to be a better coach and a better officer in the Air Force. He is a fellow airman and a full-time leader. I want to introduce Darrel Wang. Thanks for coming on the podcast, bud.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So awesome story. We were just reminiscing that we had deeper ties. Darrel's actually out living out in Arizona right now, but we actually have a three-way relationship that we actually know. Three-way. So one of them was former airman. And so how long, when you're in the Air Force?
Dude, I was in there from 2012 to 2018. So pretty short 6-year career.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. But hey, so I'll take the 6 years because I was fortunate enough to bump past with you. So one of the ways was I was one of the original athletes that re-stood up, I should say, CrossFit Holloman, stationed out of Holloman Air Force Base, so a nonprofit military affiliate. I was there for 2 years while I served as a commander. And then I also opened up the gym, and I had to hand it off because that's what happens when you move. And then a couple months later, all of a sudden, I have to do some of the paperwork because I wasn't sure who I'm going to hand it off to. There wasn't an immediate heir to hand it off. And I get these emails from, "Hey, bud, got this dude." And then I'm like, "Oh, yeah." So we're just conversing. I think we just did it over email, right?
Dude, we did. It was pretty simple. It was like, here are the keys to the castle. And I think I started that day. Yeah.
Yeah. So unfortunately, we miss each other in person, but I heard really, really good things. And I was very happy to know that CrossFit Holloman was very much in great hands. And you and the rest of the team in the centrifuge, I'm sure, were throwing down all kinds of stuff. So I'm thankful for you, maybe as a proud parent to another proud parent of a military affiliate. Very, very glad that CrossFit Holloman and continues to strive today in its current capacity.
Yeah, it's so I came from, before owning CrossFit Holloman, I came from a military affiliate that went on to compete at the 2014 games. But the military ownership is entirely different from an affiliate point of view. And gosh, I think you did an amazing job standing it up. And for me to have taken over the reins for the very temporary period of time that I had, it was an honor, man. And that centrifuge is going to have some of the best memories that I've had in my military career in it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was fortunate enough to have an opportunity because my approach on starting it, I think, was different from other people. Other people were like, "Can you just give me like $20,000 and leave me alone?" Like that's not how this works, bro. I don't know who you're talking to, the wing commander like that, but we ended up gaining some good momentum, and I know it's continuing under your leadership and even now today. So if I get lucky enough to get restationed at Holloman, I would be
lucky. Yeah.
Lucky. I'll be like, I'm gonna wear my varsity jacket. I'll be like, what are you? Who is this? Who is this old colonel? They're like, "Oh yeah, what's up?"
Oh, geez, sure. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And then after I moved on, we still kept in touch because you were actually one of the coaches for the speaking of old school, for CrossFit Endurance.
Yeah, man, super old school. We are now Power Speed Endurance, but back then, I guess in a different life, I was teaching the level 1 seminars. I was teaching the CrossFit Endurance specialty courses, and I was with Valerie Hunt on one of our seminars in Tomball, Texas, which is right outside of Houston. And I remember bringing you up. We had talked about bringing some more interns on during this transition, and one thing led to another. And I guess the whole transition was kind of a little sudden for us, right? I think Brian knew exactly what was going on, but Unfortunately, we weren't able to bring on everybody that we wanted, just because of the rebranding and the natural sense of things. But
Yeah.
I'm glad we connected through that either way.
And Val is an
Yeah.
awesome coach. So I interned under her for 2 courses, and I learned how passionate she is about running. I need to get her on the podcast. Yes, I'm going to reach out to her. I'm very sure she'd be happy to do this. But she was instrumental again of just how to connect with people and leading a class and kind of connecting. You imagine she had a quiver. She had like 9 million arrows in how to coach. It was ridiculous how much she was good. So
Yeah, she was definitely one of the best running coaches as far as like material wise and instruction wise that I really have ever come across.
yeah. So like for coaches and fitness coaches, this is one of the kind of things that based on my last podcast episode, I talk about like just remaining yourself. Like I don't have a work-life balance. I'm basically the same person all the time. So right now I'm actively Lieutenant Colonel Avila. I'm also Coach Gabe Rock. I'm also a husband, a father, all those things all the time. So I don't necessarily change roles. And so I really think that being a fitness coach helped me gain confidence in how to conduct and affected all of the roles in my life. And I think speaking of evolving, so you also own darrelwang.com. So it's a fitness and leadership consultation services. Really dope. I think that's a relatively new venture for you. Yeah.
It is, yeah. It's shifting from, I guess, nonprofit ownership where the risk was relatively low, right? The expectations were high, but the risk was low. Now to something that it has to be a little bit higher risk, right? But the rewards are a little bit higher. But yeah, man, totally new business launched just under 2 months ago. Yeah, about a month and a half ago.
When
Yeah.
I saw it pop up, I was like, "Oh, okay, here we go." And so, like, that's another. I can honestly say that's another catalyst of why I continue to write, but then also want to launch a podcast. I'm like, hold up, I can do this stuff too, man. I can keep
Right.
up with the kids. So
I can write, but with my words, right? Yeah, that's exactly with my mouth. Yeah.
So what I want to talk to you about is I got a couple things from your website, and then really just want to explore why I believe your honest approach to being a coach and a leader within the military circles, because I still believe you have influence there, and the functional fitness communities has led to your success. So if you go to darrelwang.com on the homepage, and I'm curious, here's what it says. This is where I tell you that my services are going to be a life-changing resource for you in your development as a human being, as a leader, and where you train your way into incredibly good shape. But that wouldn't be the truth now, would it? So I thought that I was like, dang, my attention step sucks on my website. So, why did you decide to start that? Why did you decide to start your services, as well as why did you decide to use that sentence?
I'm going to answer that question in the chronological order. To start it, I've had this itch that I hadn't scratched, right, for going on probably close to a decade now when it came to leadership in the military, right? I was a relatively young NCO. I think it was 22 when I made NCO, and then nonprofit ownership, right? And then that comes with some sort of leadership, having to teach these CrossFit seminars to people that were sometimes 2, 3 decades older than I was. I had to find a way to lead, and that exposed me to so many realms of leadership that I believe that for me to be in my peak expression, so what I believe that I'm going to provide most for the world, I had to be in some sort of leadership role, whether it's physically like hands-on or remotely. We've got all this technology nowadays, and it makes it pretty easy to communicate with people. And then that statement itself is more of like an intrinsic search for what the website visitor is looking for. So not only do I ask you the question, but now you have to ask yourself the question, right? Am I, and this is kind of a look into it, but am I willing to pay this guy who has like a pretty solid credential background? Am I willing to pay him money to teach me about myself? Like that's a super, super deep question. And gosh, you've got to, I remember meeting my development coach, we'll call her, for the first time. And I said, hey, I want to get better, right? And I want to be a better leader. How can I do that? She sent me some tips, and I mean, with free labor comes very little accountability. So the following month, I sent her an email and I said, hey, I need you to invoice me and I need you to make it hurt, right? To the point where now I'm accountable for my actions, and I actually have to email you my results, what I've done throughout the day, what I've done throughout the week, who I've led, who I've let down, and all these responsibilities that maybe I came short on. So that's where the website launched from, man. And like I said, that statement's like, I'm not here to beat around the bush to provide you leadership. I'm here to make it hurt for you, because it provides a little bit of accountability.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. I think it's we were joking around before we started recording, as far as like, if I were to go to the website and I saw you in like just a schmedium OCP uniform, I'd be like, what the fuck is, I mean, I guess,
Right.
but
Right.
that definitely, that approach would definitely, that would obviously garner some attention, right? And just like leaders in the Air Force, I mean, you can see the guy who's yelling all the time and like just kind of ate up about stuff. So sure, that does garner a certain amount of response, and even potentially for the if you're into it or the very influential or easily influenced, you're going to respond to that. However, unless you're like a David Goggins where you're a fucking maniac like all the time,
Right.
those are
Yeah.
rare gems to stay that kind of person all the time. So I was really intrigued and happy to see like, no, that's Darrel. That's the kind of person I think, and that's the kind of coaching you want to inspire other people to be, so they can rise to whatever they need to do. And I was very, very happy to see that it was you, not necessarily anything else or trying to replicate something that's already out in a certain fitness industry. Is your own unique take, and I really appreciate. And I respond to just unique takes to stuff because it makes sense to me.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah,
Oh
it's
yeah.
I mean, David Goggins. He wrote his book. It was a bestseller. He went back to finish whatever it was Leadville a couple weeks ago, or whatever Moab 240, after being hospitalized. But that sort of leadership, in my very small opinion, is for motivating, right? But what happens when you run out of steam, right? Are you going to watch the same David Goggins video 50 times before you go hit that 1 rep max snatch? But yeah, I think that it works until it doesn't.
Yeah. Yep. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So one thing is, since you are used to having military athletes within some of your classes, where do you see the connection between fitness and leadership? And here's kind of like my opening shot for that statement. One of the old school, when you run a CrossFit affiliate, you can make up your own rules, right? You can print them off, and some of them is like, clean up your own crap or whatever you want to do. One of the things I put was the barbell doesn't care about your rank. And so I put that up there. And when I had people coming through, I was like, hey, sir, so just want to be cool, man. Like I'm going to call you sir, but that's about it. And other people would be like, you just call me Mike or whatever it is. I'm like, well, okay,
Yeah.
sir.
It's Mike, exactly right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I appreciated the when you step through those doors, everybody's the same. And so what that also means is that's an opportunity for everybody to be a leader. So you don't have, just because you're in an assigned leadership position doesn't mean you can't be a great leader in the gym.
Right. Yeah. So I think you nailed that right on the head. There was I don't know if you were alluding to this, but there was a full bird colonel by the name of Michael Shea that was a member at CrossFit Holloman. And I remember very little occasions where I would ever call him Colonel Shea, right? If I saw him outside the gym, I'd give him the respect. But inside the gym, I think we were all about the same. And I was there to provide him instruction. He was there to do the thing and maybe forget about military lifestyle for even if it were just 45 minutes. So that said, I think that there's a connection between leadership and fitness in the military specifically, right? I wouldn't go to IBM and have the same mindset. Like if the boss or the CEO is making $6 trillion for the industry every single year and he's 300 pounds, he's good at his job. His fitness doesn't really relate to anything. But that said, one of my mentors, her name's Jill Peterson. I met her at Lululemon when I briefly worked there. She gave me a quote that I think stuck with me more than I would understand. And maybe this moment right now that you and I are having is when it displays. But how you do anything is how you do everything, right? So in a leadership capacity, even the smallest minute tasks require all of your effort and we'll get into this later, but like deliberate practice, right? So you have been driving since you were 16 years old, Gabe. how much better have you improved in the last 365 days at driving, right? Probably just enough. Yeah. And like just enough for you to be on your phone and make your way to work. And then when you get to work, yeah, wonder how you got there, right? But the Uber driver who makes his living off of driving Ubers is, in my opinion, I'd classify him as a professional driver. And I was in San Francisco not too long ago. I had to call an Uber from the airport to where I was staying. And this guy was freaking doing his job and doing it so well. And I would say that he only got that good, not from driving and the repetitions of it, but the deliberate practice of driving. So that's what made him leagues above where I will ever be in the driving realm. And like I had to provide a feedback in the world that I want to live in. So I tipped him the max amount, for me to do anything less would be an injustice. So as like a long-winded answer, yeah, I think that military leaders are expected to perform very, very well, not only at their jobs, but to maintain a certain level of fitness. And even leaders need coaches and direction. So that's what CrossFit Holloman provided. Yeah.
I think one of the best things, and so I think around that time when I was in the CrossFit, I've gone through it, maybe you have as well, the full spectrum so far of like, I am obsessed about it. If you don't do CrossFit, you ain't shit, like that kind of shit. Like, okay, that's cool for a certain time when I'm younger. But at that point in time, I was just trying to get people in because I was really trying to increase the membership to prove to wing leadership, like, no, this is a thing. And that eventually led from us to expand from the 1 racquetball court to 2 racquetball courts. And then I was hosting a class with the wing commander. He's like, hey, Gabe, not a lot of room in here. I'm like, no, there isn't, sir. I'm just
weird.
saying. That's so weird. So,
Yeah,
and then he offered up the centrifuge. I was like, oh yeah, this is totally cool. He's like, could you use this? I was like, yeah. He's like, well, how much would you need to outfit the place? I was like, are you asking me that question? So not
this is
kidding.
2 different questions, right?
Yeah. And I was like, sir, so, I mean, I can use the room and I can make up a shopping list and just, and I'll just pass it to you. So I did the normal, like Air Force sort of shoot really high, expecting you're going to cut it in half.
Right.
This dude, he was like, all right, you got it. I was like, wait, what? He goes, he was like, yeah, so you saved a bunch of money because of all the operation stuff on Com Squadron, right? I was like, yeah. He goes, yeah, you use some of that money. It's fine.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
what a
all
dream.
of that, dude, all that stuff in there, we bought like from a bunch of places, and then we got all the horse stall mats from Tractor Supply Company in town for a good discount. So like it just started happening. So part of that, so we had the environment, and what I wanted to do was like get more people in, and I wanted all people, not just CrossFitters. And I started getting airmen who just like were looking for something. They just haven't, because especially for you find so many things on the internet or Men's Health, whatever it is, it just doesn't stick. And what people are looking for is leadership. They're looking for someone to guide them through and show them. And so depending on whatever, and I'm sure you had the same thing, you have athletes coming from all different backgrounds. Your job as the leader is to understand their mindset. How can you positively affect that and kind of unshackle them from their own fears, right? And so the dudes are trying to show off and do certain things, and the females are just scared to just lift anything heavy, whatever. It's like, no, this is totally fine. And then you have, they start seeing examples around, like, oh wow, there's actually, I thought it was all scary. I thought it was only ESPN in here. Like, no, there's normal people in here. We're all, and we have the same unifying kind of thing to where we would go, like for Colonel Shea, like we just kind of hang out, we'd be talking, and then people would be like, what are you guys talking about? Like, CrossFit, that's all we talk about.
Stuff.
Yeah. And so it ended up becoming, the fitness for all of the athletes that were there grew to professional network connections, because we had a shared bond of like, we were just there. Can you walk today? No, I cannot walk today. My hands are all bloody. Like, yep, I'll see you tomorrow though. Yes, I'll see you tomorrow.
Same time tomorrow. Right, that's right.
Yeah, so I think that's the unique thing about for the military athlete, we have a certain expectation, I think, for our service. And that doesn't necessarily mean everybody has to be a snake eater. I'm always interested in the effort. If you're showing me honest effort and you're not bullshitting me about what you're trying to do and you're giving your true effort, I'll give you credit more so than the meathead over there just doing something stupid but is an asshole. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. The one on the waiver that has to do the walk test but can bench press 350 pounds.
Dude,
that guy. Yeah.
That guy, when I see those guys and they're just kind of walking around with their gallons of water, like, I get,
Always.
I get it.
Yeah.
And it's a,
You
and
win, right?
yes,
You win. Yeah.
you're win. You win all,
Yeah.
you win all the weights. This is fine. I'll go over
Yeah.
here and do
That's right.
something else.
That's right.
But yeah, that's a kind of mindset, I think, between yourself and myself. We ended up, why our coaching careers have been pretty successful so far, and because we deliver an honest approach that people can respond to. So
Yeah. Yeah, and that's so funny that you say that. It's the honesty that I think wins over the crowd, right? For the longest time, whether I was teaching endurance seminars or I was teaching level ones or I was just teaching regular classes, I fell into this trap, and I'm sure you have too, of realizing that I wanted the athlete's results more than the athlete wanted the results, right? And that's something that took me a while to, and I'm still trying to learn it right now. That the people, you cannot want for the athlete more than they want it for themselves. And what is in your control, right, is the process of how you market it, how you sell it, how you provide results to them, and all of these things. And hopefully, right, the results being out of your control at this point are what you're hoping they will see without investing too much of your energy into
yeah,
this person that you believe is you in a different body that is looking to get to where you're at. Yeah.
I think it's now that I'm in my field grade officer years, and like, so there's certain things in my career I can't do anymore. I'm not a captain. I can't do captain things, and so like, or NCO things. And so when I see the spark in certain people, I'm like, dude, you can be amazing. I'm telling you right now, I really want to help you do these things. And like, coaching goes the same thing as far as being a good supervisor and leader. Like, I'm going to unlock, and we're going to have conversations, and I'm going to help develop you to overcome your fears in your head or whatever's going on, because you have it. I can see it. So I'm going to give you a couple cues. Do this, be better, squeeze your butt, go forward. And then I'm going to get out of
Yeah,
the way.
that's
And
exactly right, dude.
dude,
Yeah.
amazing. Look at that. You freaking, I hate you. I hate you. You just pulled 500 off the floor. Get away from me.
Yeah.
So,
But you're welcome, right? I
yes,
get it.
you're welcome.
Sure.
So, last thing I had on your most recent blog post, there was a sentence on there, and I starting to, as I read it, I was like, yeah, this is actually kind of things of why I keep in contact with people like you. And I have my circle is filled with great people that I've met over my career, both personally and professionally. And so the sentence says, the highest performing individuals gravitate towards each other. It's very rarely a coincidence for fate to take the reins and happenstance have you sitting at a dinner table with winners. If being a striver surrounds you with the alike, where does complaining get you? And so I was curious to know, what was your inspiration for writing that?
Man, and you know the circle that I guess surrounds the CrossFit community, right? Like the OG founders of these specialty courses. And anyway, long story short, when we transitioned to power speed endurance, and I'm going to name drop a little bit here because I'm pretty proud of it. I was on a Zoom call, like you and I are now, with Kelly Starrett, Dr. Andy Galpin, Brian McKenzie, Aaron Cafaro, two-time Olympic gold medalist, right? All these people are just
Holy
head
shit, dude.
honchos of whatever field that they're in. Like, they have dominated and dominated and continue to dominate what it is they're doing. And I'm sitting there twiddling my thumbs while Dr. Galpin gives a speech on human bioenergetics or whatever it was, right? Oh, Candy Cane was in there as well. And I'm just like, why do they know that they accidentally sent me the invite? Uh, and I sat there and I tried to absorb all the information. It wasn't until like a week after where I'm like, you know what? I worked so hard, incredibly hard, to get to be a subject matter expert in whatever it is that I'm in, right? So at that time, maybe it was like the tactical community, or maybe it was just running. But I remember sitting there being so overwhelmed with the amount of, in quotes, winners that were at that table, right, in that Zoom call. And I quite honestly, I don't know how the Zoom call overstood all that power, but I realized that at that moment, you are surrounded by the people or the person that you are trying to become. And the most important question is like, what are you becoming? You know, and without writing that into the blog post, I think that was something that the reader could digest on their own. So that was the reason for it, man. It does no good if you're complaining without a resolution. And I think you and I both know that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's in several of the blog posts I was reading them, and then at the end, you're writing, and it hits you like, God damn it! Now I gotta. The question is posed to me, and I start questioning my life. And I'm just kidding. Like, but they're great. They're great questions, even if you're experienced leader or you're not. It doesn't matter. That is a human nature question that needs to be asked. Like, who are you surrounding yourself with? Like, what are the choices that you're trying to, and are those aligned to your values? Are those aligned to what you want to be? Right. And so, like, I try and align my people professionally and personally with people like, yeah, so just, I want to know why you're so good at this thing. And then all of a sudden your capabilities hopefully can increase from it. But if anything else, like, even without knowing it, all of a sudden you're going to be surrounded by, like you were, just like, hush, why? Well, this is kind of cool. But then, like, it's like, no, I'm supposed to be here though. And then after you overcome some of that initial fear, you'll be like, nah, man. And there's a reason why. And that's a great thing to kind of help people understand as they're achieving all this stuff, to kind of take a step back and be like, hey, so make sure you have the right people around you, because you don't want to necessarily be dragged down down angles you don't want to be dragged, but trying to maybe pushing yourself a little bit out of your comfort zone, because man, you are deserving to be within that circle.
Yeah. And they want you there. I remember thinking, I thank Brian probably more than I thank anybody else, including like the Chipotle worker that always takes my order. But I remember sitting down with him one day and I said, hey man, I really appreciate you having me a part of the team. And what he said was, in some sense, like, no, dude, like, this is for us, right? It's not for you, Darrel. It's for us, like power, speed, endurance. And that really stuck with me. And it gave me some sort of like value and utility to what I was doing, as opposed to just being the guy that's 10, 15 years younger than everybody else on the team, and just trying to fit in, trying to get Rolling Stones references. And I'm like, I fucking get it, dude. But I am so appreciative that I have these people that surround me, and everybody does. Everybody has these circles that surround them that grow because of what you contribute.
Yeah. Yeah. And that I think that level of honesty, circling back to the beginning of the episode, is where that's what makes a takeaway from this episode, is that it can be one of the core ingredients of a good leader. Being honest with yourself, being honest with the people around you, and just doing those vector checks. Like, hey, so am I doing this correctly? And being okay with honest feedback. And that usually open doors before you know it, right? It ends up becoming where people understand, they trust you, they believe in your leadership. They know that even if you don't have all the answers, you will go figure them out and find the right people who do. And they appreciate the intent and the effort behind trying to make it all about you as the leader. Just like the way Brian was saying to you, like, it's not about me, it's about us. It's like, well, awesome. That's the kind of thing I think every, if you want to call in a team environment, you want to hear that coming from one of the leaders on the team. And so that's
right.
Awesome.
Yeah. And what you said about feedback, I don't want to overlook it. It's critically important, right? Because what I failed to mention was the 7,000 times that I fucked up somewhere along the road, working for and with Brian, and him providing me the fixes to whatever situation that I had messed up. Right. So I think without the implementation and the open door policy, right? Here's a military term for you that you probably have with all your people. The open door policy to both give and receive feedback on the most intimate level is what builds high performance teams.
Yeah. I think my people kind of get caught off guard when I would just kind of talk to them about like random stuff. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to, I don't want to, I want to know what's going on in your life. Like, how's your kids? What are you into? Or what? And just connecting on a human level builds that initial trust. So then when those hard discussions have to happen, it's okay. Right. It's okay. Like, I'm going to give you some tough love a little bit now. Like, you probably could have done better. Maybe we don't do on this, but that's okay. We're here. This is about us. So I'm not placing all the fail on you. The fail is on us. So let's go somewhere from here.
Right. That's perfect, man. Us is perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, this has been a refreshing, and if I want to call it, rebluing for myself. This is always good stuff. This will live on to more episodes on my my whiteboard here that I'll sketch out of here. So thanks again for your time, man. Where can people find you? You can do all the drops now.
Oh man, well, I'm on the internet, right? So
Hey.
if you Google my name, you should find a couple things. But DarrelWang.com, like I'm sure Gabe will post it to the show notes or something.
I
like that.
will, because I'm a professional podcaster. I will always put stuff in the show notes.
That's right. And you can connect with me on Facebook. I think I'm /Darrel Wang, which is the same as the website, and on Instagram /Darrel WG. Or at Darrel WG, whatever it is.
You don't even know. It's his actual handle is sexy Asian with 5 X's, AZN 84, right. Whatever.
69. Yeah, 69. That's it.
All right, man. Well, thanks again for joining me, and that's conclude this episode. So we'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Thanks, Gabe. See ya.
This is Gabe Brock, and thanks for tuning into the Breaking Red podcast. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review so we can improve our work and deliver the best content possible. You can find our community platforms on Facebook and YouTube by searching for Breaking Red Podcast. Keep up with weekly content at our website, projectrise.co, and you can find me on Instagram at GabeRock01. Like, follow, and share Breaking Red podcast content everywhere possible, both the good and the bad. Join our conversations with other rising military leaders that aren't afraid to break red and learn how to rise to your potential.